Right, another Monday morning, just tidying up, ready for the week's work. New members, Daniel. Hello Daniel from the UK. Welcome aboard, hope you enjoy the videos. That's it over the weekend, just Daniel. Just going to butt in here briefly. Welcome to you Andrew from the UK. Hope you enjoy the videos as well. Thought I'd just butt in and add that one. So that's it. Talking of the weekend, I went to Amberley Museum yesterday. Very good. Unfortunately, the radio, they've got amateur radio room there, where they go on the air. The trouble is they seem to be having trouble getting hold of volunteers. There's never anyone there. I went and had a look. I like to say hello to them if they're there, but I don't know, last half dozen times or more that I've been, there's been no one there. So that's disappointing. I don't know whether they were there Saturday for International Marconi Day. I tuned around on the air for them, 40 metres, I think they're on there a lot, but I didn't hear the museum, so I don't know what happened there. There's the DAC 90A that we were messing around with the oscilloscope with. I'm not sure what's happening with that one, I can't remember. I can't remember. There we are. Right, what's next? Yes, a few comments on the video I've just put on, last week's video, about the little oscilloscope, which I was back over there, the little digital type one. Where'd you get it? How much was it? Where can I get one? I told you I got it for nothing. It was given to me by a very good friend of mine who entered into a nursing home, and he gave me various bits and pieces, so that's where it came from. He sort of donated it to the radio workshop, which was nice of him. I'm still not sure what I'm going to do with that one or the other one that was given to me. Oh dear, surrounded by oscilloscopes. So this week on the bench, I've got a big Bush, whatever, AC11 I believe. Was it AC11? Has come in. I've got to check that one over. Let's turn this lady down. I listen to things other than amateur radio. Turn that off for a minute. Right, so that's that. Okay, let's move on. This is the Bush AC11. It is, yes, AC11. Which one am I? Oh, I'm thinking of AC2, aren't I? The very early one. Is it AC2? So this one I've done actually. It was mainly give the cabinet a bit of a stain and stick a new mains lead on it. That's all it was. It had been serviced at some stage in its life, so I've not put that on video. There's no point. I just cleaned the knobs up. I replaced the dial light bulbs, put the new mains lead on, sprayed the switches. And that was it basically, so I haven't shown that one on video. This one I will be starting in a minute. It's a nice ivory. I'm making a mess here. I'm always in a mess. Ivory DAC 90. That's that one. I've got some lady shouting at me now. What's going on here? You're going to think, what's this bloke on about? Look, it's such a mess. Right, so we'll be having a look at this one. It works. So unfortunately, all these radios work. It's so annoying. I want something here that don't work. Yeah, this one works all right. I don't know whether it's had work done on it in the past. The light doesn't work again. But it does work quite well. But the chap wants it all checked over and, everything, or capacitors, whatever. The mains lead have been replaced, but that's not very good. So I'll probably put a new mains lead on it for him. So when I get this out of the cabinet, we'll have a closer look. This isn't good. Just before I look at the ivory DAC 90. This is a Derwent. There we are. The glass is broken, but he's sent me a spare dial glass to replace that. The knobs are all, the chassis is hanging out. Unfortunately, there's a switch been put on the back. But the rust, look at the rust. The whole chassis, it's all, I don't know what's happened to it. But basically, I don't know. It's a chap from Scotland. He rang me and he said, I've got a Derwent, can I send it down to you? I said, yeah, okay, fine. I didn't realise it was this bad. I mean, he does say broken glass. Well, okay, that we've got a new one. The knob's missing. Speaker's damaged. Oh, the speakers are right off. Won't tune into any station. Well, not surprised. Won't tune into any station. I don't know. Is it worth it? I don't know. Shall I plug it in? If I can find the mains plug in here, I'll plug it in. No, the Derwent's completely dead. In fact, I've checked it over, had a quick check. It's had it, and I've been on to the chap, and he just says, you know, forget it, keep it for parts. It's such a shame because you know, they're nice radios, but that's what damp does. You see, that's what damp does, and I'll tell you what. See that little. This was on eBay, advertised as a Morse key. Well, it's not a Morse key, even though you might think it is. It's a sounder. It's very old. It says type A relaying sounder. What it is, before they had oscillators and things, they would listen to this. Okay, so I don't know how old this is. It's rather nice. Yeah, there's a close-up picture of it. The only thing is, I got it fairly, it was at £9 something on eBay. The only thing is, the two electromagnets there, these two, they're open circuit. Now someone had put these wires on with crocodile clips, and I don't know what's happened, but they're both open circuit. I reckon they've, I don't know, put the mains across it, or they've done something and ruined it, which is a great shame because that is really old. It's really nice. So what I'm going to try, if I can, and do, I'm going to rewind these coils, the electromagnetic, the coils there, the solenoids. It's such a shame. I don't know why people do these things. I mean, you can sort of smell a bit of, yes, there's a bit of cooking been going on. So someone's carefully made up these leads and made all the coily wire look nice and everything. But it's rather odd that they're both open circuit. There we are, not to worry. So for the moment, that's going to be an ornament, which I shall put over there. Look. Okay. Right, now we are on to this, I believe. One or two of you have said, more than one or two, how about a look, you know these video clips I've done, like interludes, how about a look around your hometown, you know, down the seafront and all this. Well, I'm a bit of a recluse, I never go downtown, well, not if I can help it. And I stay in the workshop. Anyway, I did go, was it yesterday, to High Down Gardens in Worthing, well, back of Worthing. And I've made a little bit of, there's not much to see, it's just a garden, there's plants and trees and a pond, or several ponds. But I'll show you that a bit later in this video if you like, because quite a few people have said over the years we've been doing this, you know, it'd be nice to see sort of outside the workshop, you know, what's your town like, what's the seafront like. There we are. Okay, but before I do that, I'm going to take this out of its cabinet. Right, this is under the chassis. Look, 1, 2, 3. These are the Mallard, I used to call them mustard capacitors because they're mustard colour. Well, they're not quite mustard colour, are they? But sort of. Anyway, they've been replaced. Why not replace these? This is on, I've got to be careful.
Jurgen Klopp got that one wrong. Well, that's 70% of listeners.
Actually, let's switch it off. Look, 2 wax there, 2 there. So why not, you know, replace those? That's been replaced, so has that. There's, can't quite see it, but there's the coupling capacitor to the volume control up there, which has been replaced. So someone has done some work on this. They fitted a new mains lead. I think it's a kind of rubber type mains lead. I'm not sure whether to replace that or not. I probably will actually. So that's underneath the chassis. On top there's the mains dropper. Someone's replaced that, look, because the, oh look, that's loose. See that? You see that all hanging out there? This piece of Paxilin always does that. It burns it, mind you. So does the back panel on the DAC 90. So what I do here with this is just leave it in that sort of position in the middle, and then I put araldite around here, a load of araldite, because araldite can stand heat. It can take a lot of heat, and it's a good electrical insulator. So I put Araldite here. Do it in several goes, because if you put it all here, it runs down. So turn the chassis round, put some round the top, let that set. Turn the chassis up the other way, put some inside, let that set. But the dropper itself is okay. That's on the 250 volt tap there. That wire there wants replacing. Look, the coverings come off it there. Bit of rust around here. There is a little bit of rust. The tuning capacitor is, I don't know whether you can see that, it's a little bit wobbly. Now, to replace the rubber grommets really is a palaver. You've got to take this whole assembly out. This one isn't, just a little bit of movement, see that there? So what I will do, hang on, if I can show you, there's the grommet. Look, if I move this, see how that comes away? So what I will do is pull that up there, put a rubber grommet in there, okay, cut a rubber grommet, cut one in half, then cut it so you can open it, slip it in there with a little bit of glue. That will do the job. That will stop that from wobbling around. The dropper it's got that asbestos all around it. I've said this before, get a bit of PVA, you know, PVA white glue stuff, a little bit of that mixed with a little bit of water, little paintbrush, paint it all over. Okay, don't start dusting it off, you don't want to breathe that in. Paint it all over the asbestos where the dropper is, and what that does, the asbestos still is effective against the heat and the rest of it, but it stops dust coming off it. I mean, it's quite safe in the cabinet anyway, as far as I'm concerned. But if anyone did ever take the back off and start poking it, then if you put the PVA on it, it just stops it from doing that. What else was I going to mention? Can't remember. Yeah, the grommet. Cut it in, you know, the grommet's in like two sections with the inner piece. Cut it that way, so you've got half a grommet, and then cut a slot in it, so you can fit it like over, like that. Okay, you see what I mean? And then just a little spot of glue to keep, a little bit of Araldite somewhere, just to keep it in place. Don't glue the whole thing, otherwise you lose the suspension, but just a little bit to keep it in place. That's probably not necessary if it's a good fit anyway. So that's that. I haven't started on this one yet. As I said earlier, it works, which is disappointing. I was hoping it wasn't going to work. This chap has just, this is his Ivory DAC 90, just arrived in the post from the same chap, is his Ivory DAC 90A. So he wants me to do them both. So he's got a matching set. How about that? The back panel, I've got some of these. You remember I showed you who was it? Some chap was making these and selling them. Well, I have got one or two. So I think what I'm going to do with this chap is say to him, look, you know, why don't you have one of the new back panels? He might want this because it's got all the writing and it's original. I don't know. See what he says. Yeah, I know, sort of presume I wouldn't just chuck that out and fit a new one, because he might say, well, where's the original? I want the original. You know, I don't care if you patch up the hole. I want the original. Right, I think that's that for a second. Right. Last week's video, oscilloscopes. There we are, oscilloscopes. There's the screen, look. Okay, and it's like that, isn't it? You've got your kind of thing like that. A lot of questions about this. This here, this is time. This is voltage or amplitude. So you've got the amplitude of your sine wave here. It might be a small one, okay? And you can measure, say it's here, look, I haven't drawn this very well. You can measure the voltage, all right, of your AC signal there. Okay, you can, if it's DC, hang on, this is a bit of a pain. If it's DC, there's your squares on your screen, you know. You'll have your line, say here, it's not AC like that, it's DC, and you can still measure it. You've got to say naught, it depends on the volts per division here. So if it's 1 volt per division, and that's there, you've got, that's, we'll say 1.5, we'll say it's 1.5 volts, all right, because I've drawn it dreadfully. Okay, so that's, let's go back here. This is time. So if you've got this, that's the amplitude, right, volts there, okay. The time is this way, so that's going to be there's a control called time base, or what else? Yeah, it's time per division. Was it seconds per division and all that sort of thing? They all vary in what they call it. What that is, it's the time it takes the spot to travel from there to there. Okay, I mean that's very slow. So what this spot would do, it would go like that, very slowly. If this was a very low frequency sine wave we're putting in, okay. If you've got, the faster the time base, the faster the spot goes across the screen. What it is, you start with a spot in the middle. Okay, the amplitude does that, the volts per decision. This is no time. We're not scanning at all. The spot is stationary. So if you put a signal in, okay, like this, it does that. If you have time, that is the y-axis. Okay, this is y, and time is x. Okay, if you now start the spot sweeping across the screen, it'll go sweep, back, sweep, like that, like a little telly really. Okay, what that does, it keeps the amplitude the same, but it stretches this out, so you can see it stretches it out. Instead of like that, where you can just see the amplitude, it stretches it out, so you can see the actual sine wave, the waveform itself, which could be perhaps a square wave. That's a square wave. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. You know what I mean. So basically what I'm saying is, you connect your oscilloscope up to something. Carl, hello Carl, if you're watching. Carl mentioned about connecting it to the grid of the IF amplifier and stuff. You connect it to wherever you're looking at. Say it's the oscillator. Okay. If you end up with the screen, it's like this. Right, you can hardly see it. Adjust the time base, and it will stretch that out. It will stretch it out to something more sensible, like that you can see. Then as you tune around, you remember I did last week, I tuned around on that DAC 98, the oscillator. The amplitude went up and down, didn't it? Went up and down. That's not a very good design, really. You don't want the oscillator output varying in amplitude. You want it varying in frequency. Okay, this chair squeaks dreadfully, doesn't it? I just thought I'd mention that because there's been a few questions about it. How setting it up. Don't worry too much about the time, seconds. Oh, you can't see the scope here. About seconds per division and all that. You can work out the frequency of your sine wave, right, by these divisions, depending on what time you set it. You can work out the frequency, but that's for those of you just getting into using an oscilloscope. That's a bit advanced. Forget about that. What you want to do is just look at your oscillator. Right, there's your oscillator on medium wave. It's doing that. You can see the oscillators running. So adjust the time base, or the seconds per division, when it's actually milliseconds, microseconds and all that. Adjust that so this looks about right, not so it's all squashed up, or not so it's just stretched out like that. You can hardly see anything. So that's it. Yes. So what else is on the oscilloscope? You've probably got two inputs. I don't know. Depends what scope you've got. I don't need two inputs. Basically, you've got two traces. There's input 1 there, input 2 there. Okay, so you can watch something going on here and something else going on here on the same radio. With our sort of work, you don't need that. I think that's all it was. Leads are, I've got a box of scope leads up there. There are various leads. You've got various types. Basically, for our sort of work, any sort of 50 ohm type cheap lead will do. Oh yes, someone else asked about 50 and 75 ohm input. I don't think I've got that. It doesn't say. No, it doesn't say on mine. 50 ohm. They're just 50 ohm input on there. Yeah, so just use your a cheap lead, not ultra cheap. Find one that's half decent. It's got to be a screen lead like coax. they're not that expensive. You know, some of the cheaper ones, which, as I say, is fine for our sort of work. But I just wanted to look at that mess. Can you understand anything from that? I can't. So if you wanted to measure a 1.5 volt battery, well, let's say it's a 2 volt battery, all right? This will be your centre here. This will be 0 volts here. And if you've set it for, you've got volts per division. So you've got 10, 5, and a 0.1, 0.2, whatever. If we set it for 1 volt per division, and you connect your lead 2 volt battery, okay, this line will go to here. There's 1 volt, there's 2 volt. This line will then move up. It's DC, so that will just, as you connect the battery, it'll move up to there. So you can see it's 2 volts. If it's AC, okay, and it's doing that, there we are, you can see your voltage. So that's what it's all about. There are really complicated things you can use oscilloscopes for, but as I said earlier, it's, for us, it's just nice to to check the oscillators running. I do the transistor radio test, as you know, tune around on there, find somewhere on there, and then tune around on your radio, see if you get the heterodyne on the transistor radio, as I've shown you many times. That's quite a good way of doing it. But if you've got an oscilloscope, just stick that on the tuning capacitor, on the oscillator side, obviously. The volts per division, if you're looking at, say, your oscillator, adjust that. So there's your screen again. You might have like that, and you think, well, that's too small. Adjust the volts per division so it's like that, so you can see it. If it's completely wrong, it's going to be like this. You're going to have sort of half it off the screen, or most of it off the screen. So just get used to it. Just have a fiddle about and get used to it, the oscilloscope. It can be very useful. What else can you use it for? Well, I won't go into it now. I know I did promise years ago. Well, not promise. I said I'd make an oscilloscope video, a separate one, didn't I? Which I will do. I'll get round to it one day. We seem to be doing other things, but quite a few of you, quite a lot of response about that little scope I had. I'm thinking actually of setting it up at the back of the bench. I don't want it on the bench. I don't like test equipment on the bench, apart from my little multimeter. I like it out of my way. So I might set it up somewhere at the back there where I can reach it. Yeah. So that's it. Right. Okay, just let me have a think. The week's gone by very quickly again, as usual. It's Friday now and it's cold. It's getting colder. This weekend's going to be very cold. Heard from Ron in Australia. Hello, Ron. Your winter's coming up now and our summer's coming up. I bet our summer's colder than your winter, isn't it? Oh dear, there we are. Okay, for those of you that don't want to watch my little interlude type video about Highdown Gardens, which is coming up in a second, turn off now, and I shall say thanks for watching as always. I shall see you next week. Bye bye to you. Right. For those who do want to hang on and painfully watch this, here is a little sort of video clip about Highdown. I'll tell you a bit more about it in the video clip, but as I said earlier, so many people have said, oh, can we have a look around your hometown? I don't really want to show you the shops downtown. I mean, what's the point of that? You say, oh yeah, look, shops, and possibly the beach. I don't know, I might show that at some stage. But have a look at this little video. Okay, this is Highdown Gardens. And this is just a bit of a look round, just to show you what's what. It's a lovely place. I like the woods. I would far prefer the woods to the beach, although I live only a mile from the sea. Highdown Gardens here, when I first went there, I was 12 years old. And a friend of mine and myself, we at the weekend, we had a look up the downs and we found this big hedge with a hole in it. And we went through the hole and found ourselves in this garden. So we had a look round. It's lovely. It was a secret garden. That's what we named it. It's a secret garden. And I went home and told my parents, and they said, oh, well, let's come and have a look. So I took them through the hole in the hedge. We were walking round, having a look round these lovely gardens, and we came across a nurse pushing an old-fashioned wooden wheelchair, and in the wheelchair was this elderly gentleman, and the nurse said, "This is a private garden, what are you doing here?" And my father explained, "Oh, so sorry, my son found a way in and he wanted to show us what he calls the secret garden." Anyway, the chap in the wheelchair was Sir Frederick Stern. There we are, Sir Frederick Stern. And he said, "Well, you can have a look round my garden, but I think it would be fair if you contributed something to its upkeep. £0.50 will do." So my dad gave him £0.50. And he did say we'd have a quick look round, but don't come back. So there we are. That's my claim to fame. I can actually say I met Sir Frederick Stern. The gardens, look at that, lovely. Look at those flowers, absolutely lovely. The gardens later, he left the whole lot to the town council, whatever it is, borough council, which is good. And they've opened it up, and they don't charge. It's all free to look at. There's a big house there, which is now a hotel. That became a nightclub back in the, when was that? 70s, 80s, which I sort of frequented on the odd occasion. We won't go into that. The nightclub was successful, but it eventually closed, and it's now a hotel. So it's a lovely place. Look it up on the internet if you want to find out more. Highdown Gardens, Worthing. Look at that pond. There's tadpoles in there, and there's I think there are 3 ponds, or there are 2 ponds, and one of them's got some huge fish in. No fish in this one here. I can see. Oh no, this is the one with the fish. And that young lady, that's my good lady wife, waving there. So yeah, it was a lovely day. It was actually on Wednesday we went there because it was my birthday. 68 years old. How about that? My wife said to me, "What do you want to do on your birthday?" And she thought of going to Nando's in Brighton Marina. Oh, that's the sea over there. You can't see it. It's a grey day, but that's the sea. There's the A259 and the sea right over there. So yes, I didn't want to go to Brighton. I said we'd go to Highdown Gardens and have lunch in the tea rooms. Little tea room there, which is rather nice. So there we are, and there I am. Highdown Gardens, Worthing. Yeah, it's a lovely place. It really is nice. It's nice that it's been kept up as well by the council. Frederick Stern, all these plants came from around the world. I can't remember now, but he travelled the world bringing plants back. Plants, trees, all sorts. Well, little trees, not big ones. And so the whole garden is plants from all around the world, which is rather interesting. There used to be, there was on a nameplate around each plant, but they all seem to have gone. I don't know whether they're being cleaned up or what they're doing, but they've gone. So there we are. If ever you have occasion to visit Worthing, have a look at Highdown Gardens. That is the end of the video now. I've got to rewind the coils on this. That's a shame they're open circuit. Some idiots burnt it out. Not to worry. Friday, 3-day weekend, bank holiday. So the video will go on Monday, but I'm not starting work next week till Tuesday. This seems to be happening every week. I never seem to get a full week's work. I'm either messing about on the radio, talking to people, or messing about with videos, or whatever. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope that didn't bore you too much. Thanks for hanging on to the bitter end. See you next week. Bye bye for now.